Okay, we're here, we're live. We're here with Kehaulani Coleman, who is the Director of Development, Economic Advancement Programs at the YWCA, the Young Women's Christian Association. It still has that name. It hasn't just gone to the acronym, yeah?
Nope, it still has that name.
Still has that name, and it's still an international organization with a substantial footprint in Hawaii, yeah?
Yes, over 100 years.
Yeah. Okay, and this is Aloha United We Stand, and that means that Aloha United Way is supporting, at least in part, the YWCA, and they appreciate that. We appreciate that. We think Aloha United Way is doing a great job in this community. And you know what occurred to me just thinking about this, Kehaulani, that when we say, we just made that name up, Aloha United We Stand, but there's more to it than just a play on words. Yeah. There's so many social safety net, community nonprofit programs in Hawaii that they form a base of support for so many people, for the community in general. They're part of the glue that holds the community together, I think, an important part. And so when we say, just in jest, Aloha United We Stand, we're really saying more than that. The community stands on that.
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about that this morning, that just the word aloha and united are a very big part of what Aloha United Way does. Yeah. Because we are organizations, nonprofit organizations that are all working together in 3 impact areas to make a difference in our community overall. And we don't, each one doesn't do it all, but all together, yeah, it makes a difference.
And that means everyone is important.
Everyone is important because everyone is working with a different target population, doing different work. And it's really pretty amazing to sit together with everyone and see what everyone's doing.
Does that ever happen?
Yes, it does.
Oh, no.
You know, they just, they're having, Aloha United Way is having a series of workshops on program metrics, how to measure our outcomes. So we just had our second one. So at the table, you have somebody that's focusing on teen pregnancy, you have somebody that's focusing on senior citizens, you have somebody focusing on transitional housing for domestic violence survivors. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
It's great.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of those people here, so I'm really lucky. I get to see this constant parade of people coming through, sitting in that chair as you are. And I learned about the safety net. I learned the people. I learned their motivations and programs. It's really a kick.
Well, sometimes you think that, you know, in the work that you do, you're just serving so many. But when looked at in relationship with everybody else, then what Aloha United Way is wanting is a community impact, you know, all of us together. So
let's talk about you for a minute. What does it mean to be the Director of Economic Advancement Programs at the Y?
Well, our mission at the YWCA is to empower women and eliminate racism, and we do that through the programs that we have. And we have several programs. We have a women's business and leadership program. We have health and wellness. We have youth program. But the programs that I do are to serve economically disadvantaged women around the subjects of housing, jobs, and money management. So that's a very specific area. The women are usually coming out of incarceration, or they're coming out of domestic violence or homelessness, or just plain unemployment, divorce, illness. Anything can lead one to that kind of situation.
I want to, later on the program, I want to ask you specifically how all of those sub-programs work. That really sounds interesting to me. And you mentioned before the show began that this is not your first career, this nonprofit and this position at the YWCA, that you had a business career in the mainland. Can you talk about it?
Well, I grew up here, and when I graduated from high school, I went away to college, and then I sort of ended up living away for 23 years. So I lived on the East Coast, the West Coast, Key West, Florida, and Portland, Oregon before I came home.
You learned a lot being in all those places.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot, just life learning. I worked for other people. I had my own business for 8 years. We had a photo processing labs in Portland, Oregon. And so when I came home, I just wanted not to do any of those things and
Well,
wanted to do something different.
They don't do much photo processing anymore. With
Well, that's why
digital
we do it. We sold it in 1991.
All right, sorry.
But it did lead me to, my first nonprofit work was with Laniakea, teaching business ownership and entrepreneurship to Hawaiians all over the state. And I did that for many years. And so I was able to share what I learned as an entrepreneur in that way. That was very rewarding.
That's really, and it's really important in our community. I mean, for the Hawaiians, but as a group, but for a lot of groups. For one reason or another, the historical events that brought us here, a lot of people don't know how to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And we have to show them, because that is, just as the social safety net is part of holding the community together, mom and pop businesses is part of holding the community together. We can't live on big boxes alone. Yeah.
Right, and it's not for everyone. So part of the training is for people to figure out if it's for them or not.
Yeah.
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 So.
Okay, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, you mentioned the mission of the YWCA.
Your W.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that when I think of the Y, I think of the YW, because I have far more experience with the YW than I have with the YM. But I'd like to know about your facilities. When I came here in 1965, there was Fernhurst, and all my friends were dating girls at Fernhurst in Makiki.
Wow.
And so, you know, that was part of my own history. But query, is there still a Fernhurst?
Yes, actually we have 3 facilities: Laniakea downtown, Fernhurst and Makiki. It's not the original Fernhurst, but that one's been there a long time. And then we have Kokokahi Camp and Retreat down in Kaneohe Bay. And all of those, although the facility is not new at Fernhurst, I mean, not the original, all of these facilities have been going for a long time in our community. I mean, I can remember my sister, who was 12 years older than I, went to Kokokahi. All her classmates went there to camp and retreat. I came to the YWCA downtown to learn hula and swimming as a young girl. And I didn't really know much about Fernhurst, even though I went to school right next to it for some reason. I just wasn't that aware of it until I came to work there. So it's there, and it's doing some really interesting things now.
Is there any facility where a woman can live?
That's where they live. It's a residence.
Okay, it's a residence.
Yeah, so each of the facilities is a little bit different.
Okay.
Kokokai's Camp and Retreat. Fernhurst is a residence serving 2 particular programs and populations at this time. And then downtown is where all of our other programming and administration is.
Mm-hmm. You know, you're taking me back to a story, if I may. A dear friend of mine for many years, who passed a few years ago. Her name was Mary Louise Blackburn, and she came here at the last part of the 30s, early 40s. Maybe it was around the time the war began. And when she arrived, she needed a place to stay, so she stayed at the YW downtown, not the Julia Morgan YW, but there was another one, and it was where the bus barn later.
Exactly.
You know about this?
That was the original one
That
on
was the
Alapai, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she loved that place, and she talked about it all the time. There was a circle of palm trees out in the front and a big circular driveway. It was a very classy place. And the men came to court their dates, you know, in this Y. It was regal. Yeah. And she spent several years until, like, I think it closed after the war.
And it's moved now to, you know, to Makiki. But I think originally that's what Fernhurst was about, is young women that were coming to the city to work. This was a place where they could stay. And it's changed over time. I mean, you know, our community needs change over time, and so has the use of the facility.
Okay. Now, your mothership is the one downtown.
Laniakea, yeah, downtown.
Yeah. Laniakea, grand building. And I was telling you that I attended, I think it's Architecture Month, which was back in, let's say, May or so. And all the architects get together, especially in the downtown buildings, and they take you on a tour. They take you around to this building and that building, and the architects have owned up on these buildings, and they tell you the elements, you know, the architectural elements of the buildings and the history of the buildings. And there are quite a few interesting buildings downtown. But the cornerstone of it for me was Laniakea, because I know Laniakea. I mean, we have luncheon programs, and we've had a number of luncheon programs down there in Fuller Hall, you know, successfully. But the discussion by the architects of Laniakea was memorable. Julia Morgan, great architect. Imagine, they named parts of the building after the architect. That is something. And she brought all these wrought iron elements in. And the courtyard is magnificent. It's perfectly scaled for life in Honolulu. It is a glorious piece of work.
Yeah, I'm a real Julia Morgan fan. So even when I went to California, I visited some of the buildings that she did in the Bay Area. But was it last year? We had the privilege of having a lady who does an impersonation of Julia Morgan, down to the T.
Impersonation?
Yes, she's a historian who went to Stanford and works for the city of Oakland. And she came and did Julia Morgan, and we invited many architects to come. And it was really a fascinating thing to kind of be around that persona, because she really does it so well. But I mean, here was a woman who was so far ahead of her time. You know, she had her own business. I don't know if she was the first woman to graduate out of Berkeley's School of Architectural Engineering, but she was one of the very early ones. And she also went to Beaux-Arts in France. So what you see at Laniakea is a combination of that French, you know, background that she had. But her whole thing was to have a building that really served the community, that it was going to come through. And so it's a lot indoors, outdoors. Even her passageways can be used for, you know, their loges, and they can be used as rooms. I mean, so that's what makes it so so great to be in. And you know, she was the woman who apparently burned all of her plans before she passed away. And
why do that?
We still, well, because she said my buildings will speak for themselves.
Oh, how interesting.
And they do. I mean, I can testify after being there for 10 years. I'm so lucky to be able to work in such a beautiful building, which was so well thought out. But the most important thing is that the women who come, and this is what this lady told us when she came, that the women who come there might not necessarily have the homes with the staircases and the, you know, that sort of thing, but when they come, they feel like a queen.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
It becomes, well, because it's the YW, it becomes sort of a home away from home.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy it as if it were yours.
Yeah.
And you can connect with, you know, the pieces in this, not to spend too much time on this building, but the pieces in this building all talk to each other.
Yeah.
The courtyard talks to the restaurant. The courtyard talks to the lobby. The walkway talks to the lobby and the restaurant and the courtyard, and the swimming pool. All these things are interrelated, and you can be in one of them and see somebody you know in another one of them. And as you said, it serves the community. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And good for her, and good for you that you have it.
Yeah.
I know it was renovated probably, what, about
maybe
20 years ago or something like that.
Oh, we had
More
some
recently.
renovation more recently, since I've been there.
Mm.
But it takes a lot to keep that lady going, so.
That lady being Julia Morgan.
Well, you know, Laniakea, just that building. I mean, to keep a historic building going is really a lot.
The building is a lady, huh?
Well, that's what I call her.
What is Laniakea, a place name, or is it a person's name?
No, it's a place name, and I'm supposed to remember what that means.
I've heard.
I think it means open sky.
Yeah.
Something like
Built around
that.
the courtyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, let's take a short break.
Okay.
Okay, that's Kehaulani Coleman. She's the Director of Economic Advancement Programs at the YWCA downtown here in Laniakea. We're calling this We Love Our Laniakea here on Aloha United We Stand. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk about her programs and her outreach and the outreach of the Y in the community. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on ThinkTech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
It has very rich history.
Okay, we're back. We're live with Kehaulani Coleman of the YWCA. And we have already established clearly the title of our show. We love our Laniakea. But let's talk more about the role that Laniakea, the role that the YW plays in the life of the women of this community. It was certainly established at a time perhaps when that mission was really clear and greatly needed, I would say, you know, in the social fabric of the community at the time, 100 years ago. And it has served that purpose all this time. It is still loved and remembered by many people who've been through it and by people who use it now today. But there's got to be a change. There's got to be a dynamic on this kind of thing. 100 years means change. So how has it changed in terms of serving the women of our community?
Okay, well, I'm not 100 years old, so we'll start there. but
I wouldn't worry about your age. She looks like she's 15, but hey.
But I think that, you know, it was started as you know, they did a lot of work during the war, a lot of war work, you know, during the wartime. But over a period of time, I mean, you have women that are now dealing with issues that we are working with. If it's economically disadvantaged women, then it's homelessness, domestic violence, sex trafficking, unemployment, those kinds of things. If it's business development or personal development, then it's entrepreneurship training, leadership development. If it's health and wellness, then it's all about, you know, because you have to have that component. It's all about taking care of yourself. So that's been an element that's been the same throughout, the health and wellness piece. But I think the other pieces are newer, and I think probably the newest one is the entrepreneurship piece at the YWCA. It has the contract for the Women's Business Center from the Small Business Administration. So, so it's changed in maybe that way, that we are serving the community.
Well, you have to change with the changes in
you have to serve. That's the whole thing. You have to serve.
So you've got to be responsive.
You have to be responsive to your community, and that's where it's led us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you achieve these various missions? I mean, it sounds largely like education, and a footnote to that is that a lot of the people in the social safety net, as presented to us by Aloha United Way, are simply in the act of education. They educate people who need to learn about how to deal in a complex society. It's that simple. And so the classes on this, and instructions and counseling on that, and all these things are really personal or family education, or if you like, business education. And so how do you achieve all that education? What kind of staff, what kind of space, what kind of functionality do you have to have?
Well, the impact areas for Aloha United Way are education, safety net, and poverty prevention. And although we do a lot of training, we come under the poverty prevention and safety net aspects of Aloha United Way, and that's through workforce development and housing. So, so it's a little, we, at the YWCA, in the programs that I run, which are the Dress for Success, which has 3 programs under it, and Fernhurst, which has 2 programs under it. We're working with essentially economically disadvantaged women. So the Dress for Success program has a suiting program for when they're ready to go for employment. It has a job readiness program, 8-week program to support them, so there's the training aspect. But that program has a really great mentoring piece where each one gets a job coach who is an HR specialist.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it makes it, it's women helping women kind of situation. And then we have a job retention program. And so that means you got the job, but you might not be able to live on that job. So now what's next? And that's where the career path comes into play, and that's where education becomes so important. So we have those elements, but as far as Aloha United Way is concerned, we come under poverty prevention and safety net. Now over at Fernhurst, we have a new program. So we have 2 floors, and we have 2 different programs. One is a work furlough program, and the other is transitional housing.
What is a work furlough program?
So work furlough are women who are coming out of incarceration, who are community ready and must get to work.
So it's a halfway house kind of?
I think it's what people call the halfway house.
Yeah.
So this is a program that's been around our community for 22 years. It's unique. It has a very good result. And we've transferred it to the YWCA in July, so it's very, very new for us. So that's a very new program. So all of our 2nd floor is work furlough, and our 3rd floor is transitional housing. So to me, the important part
They're
is...
related, aren't they?
They're related, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Because we know housing's a big deal in our city. So to be able to have wraparound services, so what happens is usually the work furlough refers the people downtown for job readiness. And then they live with us also. Then they come back for job retention. Then they may move up to transitional housing. So we're offering a wraparound service around some really important subjects, jobs and housing.
A great idea,
For really, for populations that have difficulty in both of those areas.
Yeah, I mean, if they are unhappy, unstable, not accomplishing, not fitting in to one program, the other programs come and act as a kind of support system.
Yeah.
So you can hardly drop out because
we're always there.
Because we're always there doing something.
Right, you're right. They're, with us in terms of getting employed, staying employed, or housing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really great place for us to be. I think it's very exciting.
It's exciting for the community too, because you know what? You're doing and learning things about how to handle these, call it dropout situations.
Yeah.
Which could be useful to other agencies, other nonprofit government agencies who are trying to achieve similar things. What you learned, what you succeed in, for example, in the homeless program, what did you call it again?
Transitional housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be useful. It could be useful to government, it could be useful to other organizations dedicated to the same purpose. So, are you collaborating? Are they watching you? They come around and say hi?
Oh, who?
Other organizations want to do the same thing.
Yeah, we, our whole Dress for Success program is all by referral. So it's all partner agencies. And you can't, in nonprofit work, you can't do your work by yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
So you all have key partnerships depending upon what it is you do. So you try and have integrated services within your own agency. We are, for instance, we can also now offer entrepreneurship to those very same women. That's huge.
Sure, that fits with all the other things.
Right. So that's a really big offering, but also for the things that you cannot do within your agency, you have to have good partners to be able to fully serve,
Connect
your
everything
women.
up.
Yeah.
So how successful? You said you referred to the fact that this was successful, at least part of it anyway, the jobs and homes aspect. What are the metrics? I mean, how many people have gone through the programs? And why do you feel they're successful?
Well, I think that I did bring metrics so that I could really answer your question good.
Okay.
But for instance, in the Dress for Success program, just from January through June, we served 223 women.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot, and that's you know, a mid-year point. And what we do at Fernhurst is we measure usually by number of meals that we are able to give, and a number of bed nights. But essentially, in the Transitional Housing program, we serve about 15 women for 6 months each. So we have maybe 2 cycles in a year. The Work Furlough program serves 23 to 25 women, 6 to 8 months. So it's that's coming through those programmings. In the job retention program, we run 4 cohorts. We do 15 or 20 women through those cohorts. In the professional women's group, which is the job retention program, we have maybe 23 women. And that only started last September.
And it's ongoing. I mean, all this is...
All this ongoing, it's all new. I mean, the job retention and the job readiness programs are new. Job retention only started last September, and the job readiness started in 2013. And we have, so those are a part of Dress for Success Worldwide. So that's a worldwide organization, and we've received 2 awards in that short time. In our first year in the job readiness, we received an award, and then this year we received an award for our job retention program. But we, you know, it's experiential for us too. We're learning what the women need and want, and try to be responsive to that. We've got great staff. Lots of other places have, you know, all volunteers. We really have staff.
Hold on that, because that's exactly my next question.
Good.
We'll take a short break, and we'll come back. I'd like to ask you who's on your staff, what their training and attitude is, where you find them, and how somebody could actually join your staff, if that's helpful for you. Kehaulani Coleman, Director of Economic Advancement Programs. That's a lot of programs now at the YWCA. We love our Laniakea. Here on Aloha United we stand. We'll be right back for more.
Aloha, I'm Ywca, President of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're having a wonderful time with Kehaulani Coleman of the YWCA. And we stopped her, took a break, because we wanted to have a little time on exactly what kind of staff she has for all these economic advancement programs. What kind of training, what they come to you with, how you train them to train others, how the training goes. So can you give us a kind of a little tour through that with a view to maybe somebody out there would like to do this?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm going to wrap it back to Aloha United Way, because they have been a long time funder of YWCA and our programs. And, you know, a lot of times people think about nonprofits and that there's some question about how much money we get paid, how much money staff gets paid. One of the first things I learned when I went to a Dress for Success conference is don't even try this if you don't have staff. And you know, you need staff, you need the support of your board and CEO to be able to have a successful program. And I really took that to heart, and we have now more staff than we've ever had. Say in the Dress for Success program, we have 2 part-timers and 1 full-timer. That's a lot for Dress for Success. Many of them may just have volunteers. It's a volunteer-based program. So a lot of the hard work, all of the suitings, all of the mentoring, all of the sorting of clothing that's coming all day long. It's all volunteer. So we have about 50 volunteers at the Dress for Success program. So just coordinating that. So when women come, they have an appointment with a volunteer. So a lot of the work is done in that program by volunteers. The people who are staffed there, the coordinators, all were previous volunteers. And so that makes for a very unique situation. They love the program, they know how it runs, and they're great. Now at Fernhurst, it's in the Work Furlough program, and you have case managers who have their, their MSWs, and they have, they need that in order to perform the work that they.
But you know what? For an MSW, it's a great spot.
Yeah.
Because they have a supportive organization around them. They have, I don't want to say challenging, but interesting cases to do. Yeah. And they have this reward of helping people who want to be helped, need to be helped. And where helping can make a big difference.
Well, up until now, we've sort of said, well, we're not so social service. We're kind of the last step before a woman goes into her permanent employment and her permanent housing. She's been through a lot. She's been through a lot of other programs. And we try not to make our programs too programmy so that they can step into a new world. That's what we're trying to provide, access to something that maybe they're not used to. But with the addition of the Work Furlough program, it is more intense in terms of, I don't know if you want to call it social service, but you need skill. You need the skill to work on various levels. So that's been a change for us.
On job skills and on social skills.
Right.
And maybe it's a little psychology, social work for sure.
Right. Because the thing is that in general, many of the women that we work with, and particularly women coming out of incarceration or domestic violence, there's trauma at the center of it all. So you have to have a trauma-informed kind of staff and system. And so I think that's the unique thing that we get to offer, is that we're gender-specific and we're trauma-informed. And that makes a big difference in terms of what the women get when they come to us. Because we have, that sensitivity. And in the Work Furlough program, it's structured in that way.
And how do you get the women to come? How do you get volunteers to come? For quote appointments. How do you draw these people in? Do you advertise?
Yes.
Do you use agents to find them? What?
Well, we're on Aloha United Way's volunteer 211 number. So we have our own webpage, and people know the Dress for Success program, so they call us. A lot of times they call us. Coming on television like this is a big help, because every time we do, we get calls. So, and there are lots of different things people can do. So in our other programs, we don't have as many volunteers. Yeah, I think.
They come. I guess the point is they come.
Right.
And you have volunteers sufficient to handle them, and you have enough people coming so the whole thing works.
Well, we have great staff to be able to coordinate all of that. That's
you mean the administrative side?
Yeah, because you need to be able to. No, staff. Staff coordinates all of the volunteer work. Yeah.
So what about people? You talked about abuse, imprisonment, different things put women at disadvantage, of course. What about racism? Does that exist here? Is that part of the kind of package that comes to you?
Well, it's part of our mission, and there's been sort of lots of discussion about that subject, because it may not look the same as it does in other places, but I am pretty sure it's still here. it's not a subject that we work with too much in terms of the women that we're working with. They're not necessarily coming with that kind of issue. You know, maybe other YWCAs, other places might, but I don't think we can say it doesn't exist. I mean, because I think it surely does. It just probably
it's just
looks
in a different form.
It looks different.
It looks different here in Hawaii. Yeah. But I mean, we see it popping up once in a while.
Right.
And that tells us. What about me? Can I be a mentor? Can I be a trainer? To take men?
Do we take men?
What, did I hit a nerve on this?
No. Actually, it just depends on. We have men guest speakers. We haven't had any men. We had one man who mentored during the summer when the program was closed for a period of time between cohorts, and he was great. It's pretty hard to do in a residence. We could have a trainer, a situation that would be great. So no, I mean, wherever there's expertise in whatever gender it might come in, we would be silly not to use it. We just have to be sensitive about how we do it.
I mean, in the dressing program, I don't think I can help you.
Well, see, that's the thing, because it's all down in the center. So if we have women being suited, then we just need to be aware if we have men coming in. So it's just something that we have to be
You
aware
want to
of.
say something?
Huh? No, I was asking you if you want to do something. I'll find something for you. I don't know if that was an offer.
I think it'd be very valuable to teach some of those, what do you want to call it, life skills, business skills, engaging with the government skills. I remember we did a movie in Laniakea High School on the Big Island, and a lot of Micronesians there. That has a substantial percentage of the school was Micronesian. And the school, through a very talented principal, I thought, adopted programs that would have the kids bring their parents to the school so they could all sit down and learn how to go to the grocery store and things like that.
Yeah.
And because the school recognized that the kids were a good way to deal with the parents, and the parents needed this education, so make it a family experience.
Yeah,
Everybody
wonderful.
wins.
Wonderful.
So that kind of, creative approach. And so the same here. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people need to know. Sometimes for one reason or another, they just don't get educated in it.
Yeah, I think that I really like organic program development, not having too much set in stone, but putting your foot down, starting out, have some sort of a structure or curriculum if that's the case, but then pay really good attention to the people in the room. Like, what are they really wanting? What's really their story, and what are the barriers? And and flat out asking them, what's one thing that would really help you get employed, and then answering that.
Sounds like you do spend time with your volunteers, try to make them sensitive to these issues, and put them on the same page.
Yes,
Are you the person?
I spend time with the clients too, though. So we work together. So in the job readiness program, all the staff is there, all the volunteers are there, and I'm there. So this is how we can really be aware, because one might get a piece of information here or there might be a concern here or there, and we work together as a team.
Integrated,
Yeah.
So one thing that comes to mind is that of course, we know you get some money from Aloha United Way, but that certainly can't be everything. What is the business model, and what is your relationship with the public in general, sort of the contributing public, if you will? How do you reach them? What do you do with them? How do you bring them into your operation?
Well, I think, so that's part of an administrative function as well as a programmatic one. So we have first of all, we get all kinds of funding. I mean, some of it's government contracts, as Aloha United Way, some of it is individual contributions. I would say that the individual contribution part could definitely be raised up, and I think that so we have at our at the YWCA focused in on a new approach to that, and part of that is having monthly mission tours. So we have twice a month we have a mission tour where people can come through and really learn about what goes on behind those doors. And so we're now 2 years in on that, and it's really then the community can really see what you actually do, and they're on premise. And so that has really helped a lot in terms of just getting the word out. We have a department that works on that.
If I wanted to be involved, take a mission tour, volunteer, who do I call, who do I talk to?
Well, you can call me since I'm here at 695-2603.
695
2603.
2603. Okay.
And then you can say that you heard me on the show, and then I can find out what it is you're interested in, and then I can send you to whoever needs to talk to you.
Last area of inquiry here, Kehaulani, and that is, you know, the Y. The Y is, it's not a national organization, it's a global organization. It's existed for 100 years. It has helped millions of people. It is a bastion in our society. It's not just here today, gone tomorrow. Are you connected? Is the Y here connected, YW here, connected with other Ys? I mean, is there, what is the relationship of this Y with the national network of Ys?
Well, we are connected regionally within the United States and nationally. But here in Hawaii, we have three. We have one on Kauai, one on the Big Island. We are not the same, we are separate entities, but we're sister organizations. So that's kind of how it works. We are trying to do more and more things together. Each YWCA has a different emphasis wherever you go, because they're answering the need of their community. Some are domestic violence, some are housing. So I had an opportunity 2 years ago maybe to go visit a couple, so you can see. Everybody answers questions differently for their community, but it's great to be a part of. So when I went to the Dress for Success conference, there were 4 other YWCAs there who just happened to have the Dress for Success program. So that's pretty nice. So we did have a chance to meet with women who work more globally, but I think our CEO is more hooked up at that level in terms of
Sure.
overall.
Part of the job. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's great to meet you and talk to you. I never met a social worker I didn't like, and I think you are a social worker. A business social worker.
It's not my background, but thank
you. I admire very much what you're doing, and I don't have to know the answer to my very last question, which is, do you love your work? I think I already know.
Yeah, well, I've gone on with it much longer than I ever thought I would, so I guess so. I guess so.
You're still going to do it?
I'll do it for a little bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.
Kehaulani Coleman, the Director of Economic Advancement Programs at the YWCA here in Honolulu. On Aloha United we stand. We love our Laniakea. Thank you so much.
Thank you.